Discovered secrets minutes before the wedding, her incredible revenge transformed everything. Jenna's heart pounded loudly in her chest, drowning out the sweet sound of laughter echoing through the church where she was about to say I do. Just minutes from stepping into the sunlight, her dreams of a perfect life with Mike the handsome mechanic with a crooked grin hung on the edge of disaster. With every inch of her being, she wanted to believe in their love, to wrap herself in the fairy tale a white dress promised. But fate had other plans. As she fumbled nervously with her wedding program, her fingers grazed a small section announcing the significant family legacy of the man she loved. The ink felt cold against her skin, the truth about Mike's family seeped into her dreams like ink spilling on a well-loved page. Their fortune, built on the backs of those in town who were barely making ends meet, laved over the secrets of exploitation, shadows lurking just beneath the surface of their glossy smiles. Shock washed over her, and everything she'd envisioned was ripped away in an instant. Her breaths quickened, visions of her mother racing through her mind. The hard years her single mom spent pouring love into baked goods, the sacrifices made with a warm smile, and long nights of baking for school fundraisers danced vividly. Jenna could still remember the way that smell would linger in their small kitchen, a reminder that dreams mattered, that love didn't need a tainted foundation to flourish, but was love enough this time. It couldn't be built on lies, could it? Could she truly marry a man whose family profited from the struggles of others? Her heart ached, tight as a vice, torn between a love that felt so right and a truth that repulsed her. Spirit rising, she felt her mother's strength pushing her forward. It was time for a reckoning. She found herself at the back of the church, glancing at the faces of friends and neighbors who had supported her for years. Their smiles faded as they caught the look on her face. Jenna stepped beyond the sanctuary's threshold, gripping the pulpit with shaking hands, gathering the courage that surged like an upward tide within her. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With eyes that sparkled like diamonds, she turned her gaze to Mike, his face a mask of disbelief as she gathered the community in her sight. Today, I stand here not just as a bride but as someone who believes in justice and integrity. The murmurs swept through the crowd, whispers of confusion crackling like static. Your family's success was founded on the suffering of our neighbors. Jenna breathed out the words, her voice trembling as tears pricked at the corners of her eyes. She watched the store owners' faces, the cafe boss who rallied for equality, a lifeline for the single parents of the town, friends against backdrops of heartache, a people who shared her dream of a life built together with integrity. Could this bold decision inspire something greater? Could her truth challenge what it meant to love a person like Mike? The air thickened as Jenna prepared to unleash the weight of her revelations, her fight against unseen chains holding them all captive. She sensed their gaze collecting an unbreakable thread woven tighter with her resolve. And in that moment, with her future hanging in the balance, the church seemed to breathe, the world outside paused, ready to witness a confrontation that might change everything. What would Mike say? Would he own his family's shadowy past or rise to meet her challenge? The moment felt electric. Destiny close enough to touch, as Jenna stood at the crossroads of love and justice, daring to cross into the light of truth. Mike stood frozen, his blue eyes wide, flickering from Jenna to the assembled guests, searching for an anchor in the chaos of her revelation. The church, usually a sanctuary filled with warmth and light, now felt like a pressure cooker about to explode. Jenna's heart raced as she waited for his response, the air thick with tension. Jenna, he finally managed to say, his voice barely a whisper. What are you? It's true, isn't it? She interrupted, her chest constricting with emotion. Your family's success is built on the backs of those who struggle. You can't deny it. Not anymore. In that moment, whispers turned into a symphony of gasps, echoing off the stained glass windows. People exchanged glances, uncertainty painted across their faces. Jenna could hear her own heartbeat, merging with the tense silence that cloaked the room. "Jenna," Mike pleaded, stepping closer, desperation etched across his features. "You're talking about my family. This isn't just about me. You know my father worked hard, that hard work doesn't excuse exploitation, Mike." The passion in her voice caught like wildfire within her. "You're not just marrying me, you're marrying my community, and I refuse to stand by while your family profits from our pain." His brow furrowed as he struggled to keep his ground, pain veiling his features. "I didn't know I had no idea," he stammered. "You can't hold me accountable for their actions. But I can hold you accountable for turning a blind eye." She felt the boiling rage and deep hurt bubble to the surface. "How can we build a life together if it floats on lies and deceit? Our love deserves better than that." Something shifted in Mike's expression. The disbelief melted away slowly, revealing dawning understanding. "You're right, I need to learn from this." He took a deep breath, his shoulders straightening as if shaking off the weight of the past. "I've never really thought about how my family's past could hurt others." Jenna watched as the tension in his face began to ease. The flicker of hope ignited within her. Could he really see the light? Yet, shadows still lingered, the community was still there, watching with bated breath. "People suffer because of unchecked power," she continued, her voice steady but tinged with vulnerability. "We can't ignore it. This is a choice we make together. If you love me, you'll stand with me against your family's legacy." The room fell silent, the air punctuated by shared glances and murmurs. Couples turned toward each other, contemplating the chasm that stretched wide among them, one filled with outdated beliefs and the shadows of privilege. Mike stepped forward, his expression shifted. "I want to stand with you, Jenna. I do, but I need time to process, to figure out how to confront this. It's not going to be easy." A collective gasp rustled through the crowd again as they absorbed his words. The bridge between them cracked open just a fraction, sunlight streaming through, igniting a flicker of hope. For a brief moment, Jenna's heart soared. "I can wait for your understanding, but don't forget about those left behind. We cannot forget. What if I can't reconcile my love for you with my family's past?" His voice softened, fear threading through the determination. "We build new paths," she stated firmly. "Together." The air vibrated with their intertwined destinies, a maze of uncertainty, but also possibility. The connection hummed with potential and challenge. She stepped forward, stepping closer to him, the space between them shrinking, anticipation crackling at their fingertips, but just as she reached for him, a familiar voice called from the crowd, echoing in her heart. "Jenna! What happens if people discover even darker secrets hidden in the shadows?" A shiver raced down her spine. What could be worse than this? As eyes turned toward her with expectant anticipation, she wondered if they were prepared for yet another truth that threatened to shatter everything again. Jenna's breath caught in her throat. The weight of that question hung heavily in the air, prickling her skin. She scanned the faces of the crowd, each one a mix of curiosity and concern. What secrets were buried in the past, threads woven into the fabric of her life and Mike's? "Jenna," Mike's voice broke through her thoughts, laced with urgency. "What if there's more we don't know?" The idea twisted her stomach. What more could there possibly be? She demanded, turning to face him fully. "Isn't this enough?" A murmur rippled through the attendees, a shift of uncertainty as they leaned in, drawn by raw emotion. "That's just it," a voice came from behind her. It was Anna, an older woman from the community, who had been instrumental in rallying support against injustices years before. "Sometimes the truth is much darker than we can handle. We've uncovered things that can rip apart families and communities." Jenna's heart raced, an instinctual warning urging her to retreat. "Like what?" she pressed, steel in her voice. Anna stepped forward, her expression a mix of pity and determination. "Years ago, your community fought against the very industry Mike's family helped build. The scars run deep. But I heard whispers of a cover-up. She paused, gauging the effect of her words. A tragic accident. Lives lost. Families destroyed, and your fiancé's family may have played a role in it. Gasps echoed around them. Mike's jaw clenched tight, shadows crossing his face. What are you saying? People don't just forget, Mike, Jenna replied, her voice trembling. We don't forget the pain your family caused. He opened his mouth as if to defend himself, but no words came. The silence grew thick, drawing the crowd closer, the weight of their shared history intensifying. Jenna, Mike finally said, pain reflected in his eyes, I need you to trust me. I'll dig deeper. I promise. With a fierce resolve, she shook her head. Trust? You have to understand, Mike. People fought for their lives against what your family stood for. You might not have known, but your family's actions have consequences. Grief and rage mingled in her chest. Was she ready to uncover the truth of Mike's family? The love they had built now seemed precariously connected to something more sinister. Jenna turned back to the crowd, feeling the weight of their gazes. I will not let the shadows of the past swallow the future, she declared. What do we do next? The question hung in the air, uniting the community once more. A hesitant voice piped up, we demand the answers. We confront the past. Jenna felt a knot tighten in her throat. And if the answers change everything we know? Mike took a step closer, desperation creeping into his voice. Jenna, I will stand with you in this. Whatever it takes. Can you? She challenged, searching his eyes for the truth. Can you fight against your own blood if it means standing up for what is right? The air hummed with tension, leaving her heart racing, uncertainty clawing at her insides. She felt exposed, and yet oddly empowered by the very doubt that threatened her love. Suddenly, the church doors burst open, and a figure strode in, eyes wild, urgency electric. Wait, there's something you all need to hear. Jenna's breath hitched. What now? The ground shifted beneath her feet. Would this revelation drive her away from Mike or pull them closer together, bonded by shared purpose amid chaos? The crowd turned as one to face the newcomer. His wild eyes darted around, seeking stability amid the chaos. Jenna leaned in, heart pounding against her ribs. She sensed that whatever was about to unfurl would change everything again. Who are you? Mike called, his voice steady but low. Sorry for the interruption, the stranger replied, brushing strands of disheveled hair from his forehead. I'm Derek, a former employee of the mill. I need to talk about what happened back in '89. He paused, swallowing hard as the memory likely took hold of him. About the accident. A ripple of gasps filled the room, the gravity of his words anchoring them in place. Jenna felt her breath quicken. She exchanged a worried glance with Mike, who looked like he was bracing for impact. The mill was supposed to be safe, Derek continued, his voice cracking under the pressure of sharing painful memories. But we all knew about the corners they cut, about the lives at stake. I was there when it went down, I saw everything. He glanced around, ensuring their attention was captured. And your family, Mike, he hesitated, they knew. They were informed days before. The weight of those words sank like a stone in Jenna's chest. She had believed that families could choose to rise above their legacies. But this was far more than she expected. No. Mike shouted, his voice a mixture of anger and denial. That can't be true. My family would never, they're not like that. People do terrible things, Mike, Derek urged, his voice low and weary, often to protect their own. The truth is everyone paid the price. But you need to hear the whole story. Jenna wiped a tear from her cheek, desperation creeping into her gut. What happened? What exactly are you saying they did? Derek met her gaze, his expression somber. There was a spill, a leak. They tried to cover it, but the machines weren't maintained properly. Lives were taken because no one was willing to admit the truth. And they moved on like it never happened, like it didn't matter. A painful silence consumed the room. Faces were ashen, filled with disbelief. The community had survived decades grappling with what had been lost, only to discover now that they had not been mistaken, but robbed of their voices. People lost family members, Jenna, Anna interjected, her voice shaking with indignation. And for years, we've been fighting for justice. You can't just let this pass. You have to confront them, both for those who remain and for your future. Jenna felt a torrent of emotions swirling inside her, a fierce anger, a burning need to stand up for those who couldn't anymore. But then it clashed against her love for Mike, the man she'd almost vowed to share a life with. Could she really confront him like this? The truth could tear us apart, she murmured, looking from Mike to Derek and back again. Mike stepped closer, his voice teetering on the brink of desperation. But what if it brings us together? What if we can fight together? I'm not my family, Jenna. I want to let their choices define who I am, who we are. But what if standing together means confronting what they've done? Jenna's lips trembled. What if we uncover something even darker? Around them, the crowd murmured uneasily. Each person felt the weight of history pressing down, the memories of old wounds reawakening. Then we fight, Mike said, determination igniting in the depths of his eyes. Together. Jenna took a deep breath. Could she really do it? Could they truly face the truth? As the intensity in the room built, Derek seemed to sense the urgency. I have documents. They can prove everything, he said, pulling out a folder filled with papers from his bag. But we need to act fast. Jenna's heartbeat quickened. The next step loomed ahead, fraught with pain yet promising the possibility of closure. Would they dare to unveil the hidden past, knowing it could change everything in their lives, for better or for worse? Then let us see them, she replied, steeling herself for what was to come. And let us find out what it means for all of us. Before the door swung shut behind them, Jenna felt the heavy curtain of the past lifting, but was she ready for the weight of the truth? The room thickened with anticipation as Derek flipped open the folder, revealing yellow documents and grainy photographs. Jenna leaned closer, her mind racing. She could feel Mike's tense presence beside her, a mixture of anxiety and resolve emanating from him. The others shifted restlessly, their collective breath held in sync with Jenna's rising panic. This is just the beginning, Derek said, pulling out a photograph of the mill. It showed the sturdy facade cracked and crumbling, its former glory hidden beneath layers of neglect. This was taken just weeks before the accident. They knew the machines were faulty, yet they kept running them. Jenna's heart sank as she stared at the image. A chill washed over her, squeezing her lungs. It was more than a simple error, it was a blatant disregard for human life. Her fingers trembled slightly over the photographs, tracing the outline of a face, a man she vaguely recognized. Who is this? She asked, pointing at the photo. Derek's expression darkened. That's Mike's father right before signing off on budget cuts. The corners they cut were literally at the expense of lives. Mike stepped back, disbelief mirroring his features. My dad? No way. He wouldn't have it, doesn't make sense. It makes perfect sense in a system where profits outweigh people, Derek replied softly. Your father, like many, was stuck between loyalty to the company and the lives he was responsible for. Jenna felt the room close in, the walls seemed to close ranks. The weight of family loyalty suffocated her, but also ignited a flame of rebellion. We have to take these to the authorities. This isn't just about the mill anymore, it's about every family who lost someone who still hurts because of this. A murmur spread through the crowd, a mix of agreement and fear. They had been silenced for too long, but could they really confront their past? Could they challenge the very people who had shaped their town? Mike's voice broke the tension. If we go to the authorities, we risk everything. My family will retaliate. They'll bury this, just like they did then. What's worse? Living in fear or fighting back for the people we love? Anna interjected, her eyes fierce. We owe it to them. If we go silent now, their lives will have meant nothing. Jenna locked eyes with Mike, searching for the man she knew beneath the weight of his family's legacy. We can't ignore this. I won T. If we don't act now, it will haunt us forever. Derek nodded, adding urgency to their cause. I have a contact at the local news station. Together, we can expose the truth. With the evidence I have, we can hold them accountable. The flicker of hope ignited in Jenna's chest. There was no turning back. They could feel the tide turning, the community stirring around them. Yet doubts lingered, whispering that the consequences could spiral out of control. Then let us do it, said a voice at the back, propelling a wave of murmurs through the crowd. A sense of united strength began to swell, washing around them like a tide ready to sweep the past away, but just as the resolve began to forge, a sudden crash sounded from the back of the room. Jenna turned, and a figure stepped forward, sudden, imposing, and unmistakably familiar. Stop right there, the newcomer warned, voice dripping with authority. You don't know what you're getting into. Recognizing him instantly, Jenna felt the color drain from her face. It was Mark, Mike's older brother. In that moment, a new fear gripped her. This wasn't just a family matter, it was about to erupt into something more dangerous. Was their family's history worth the fight? As she locked eyes with Mike, realization began to settle in. What are we willing to lose to find out the truth? She whispered, feeling the heavy blanket of confrontation loom over them. Mark's presence filled the room, thickening the air with tension. The uncertainty boiled deep in Jenna's stomach. She glanced at Mike, whose expression shifted between confusion and dread. Mark loomed like a storm cloud, arms crossed as he surveyed the crowd, defiance etched on his face. Everyone thinks they know the truth, but they don't, he said, his voice steady, cutting through the murmurings. You're all playing with fire. Let us speak, Jenna urged, stepping forward. This isn't just about your family anymore. We're trying to bring justice. Mark interrupted, an incredulous chuckle escaping him. Do you really think the authorities will care about your little crusade? They've been silencing people like you for years. Why do you think the mill got away with it? His words were like ice. Uncertainty clung to the room as Jenna felt a chill of despair. Did he really believe that no one would listen? She straightened, the fiery determination bubbling inside her. Because we have something you don't, she declared, voice steady. We have proof. Lives were lost because of choices that were made by people who should have been protecting them. We won't let it slip under the rug just because it's inconvenient for your family. The collective audience murmured again, voices rising and falling. Mike still stood frozen, caught between family allegiance and the truth that threatened to unravel everything he once believed. I'm not letting you destroy our family's reputation, Mark said, the softness of his voice replaced by a fierce edge. You think you're some sort of hero, but all you're doing is digging a deep hole for everyone involved. You have no idea what's at stake. Maybe you're the one who doesn't understand what's at stake, Mark, Anna interjected, stepping beside Jenna. People are still grieving. Families are shattered. We can't ignore this anymore. Mark's cold glare darted from Anna back to Mike, searching for support. You're all making a mistake. You don't know what that company can do when threatened. They won't just hurt you, they'll destroy everything you love. Jenna's heart raced. The threat hung heavy in the air. She felt the eyes of the crowd glancing to Mike, looking for his reaction. This was his brother, after all, and the weight of loyalty pressed down hard. Mike, she whispered, her voice barely above the collective buzzing of anxiety. This is your chance to stand up. You can choose to stay silent, or we can fight together. What do you want? Mark's expression changed confusion, desperation. Jenna saw the flicker of conflict in Mike's eyes and knew the moment was critical. She took a breath, willing the energy of the room to shift. That man in those photos, she pressed gently, is directly tied to the pain our families have suffered. And you're telling me you want us to let it go? Just because it's easier? Silence enveloped them, thick and heavy. Then, Mike finally stepped forward, his voice quaking with a mix of fury and doubt. I spent my whole life following their expectations, every decision guided by fear of what they could do. This has been a nightmare. Suddenly, a small sound from the back caught everyone's attention. An elderly woman shuffled into the room, her eyes filled with both pain and ferocity. My husband died in that accident. How can you stand by while they get away with this? Mark shifted, his bravado cracking in the face of her grief. Jenna felt the shift as hope began to rise, intertwining with the bitterness of vengeance. They weren't just fighting for their own past anymore, this was the entire town's broken heart laid bare. As they shared glances, spirits mingling, Mark stepped back, defeated, and Jenna turned to the group, heart pounding. We take this to the news, and we don't stop until they listen. We owe it to those we've lost. But deep down, Jenna felt the question gnawing at her mind. Was she truly ready to face the fire, knowing the risks could tear them apart? Are we really prepared to stand united against them? She asked quietly, knowing the answer could change everything. The air in the room felt charged, heavy with anticipation. Mark's retreat only fueled Jenna's determination. She glanced at the crowd, their faces a mix of hope and disbelief. They were hanging on her words now, searching for a glimmer of courage to ignite their own. Mike remained silent, standing at the crossroads of loyalty and justice. His brow furrowed as if he were wrestling with an unseen weight, and Jenna knew she had to reach him. Mike, she said again, her voice softer this time. You've seen the pain in your community. They need you now more than ever. This is a chance to rewrite your story. Mike's gaze broke from the crowd, landing on Jenna with a flicker of resolve. But what if I lose everything? This is my brother. He's family. I can't just turn my back. Sometimes, Anna replied, stepping closer to Mike, turning your back on the wrong feels like the hardest choice. But standing up for the right? That's the brave part. The room quieted, the weight of her words settling over them like a thick fog. Mark clenched his fists, his rage simmering just under the surface. You're going to regret this. When the dust settles, you'll look back and wish you'd kept your mouth shut. The elderly woman shook her head, tears in her eyes. Regret is letting your loved ones suffer in silence. This isn't just about Mark, it's about everyone we've lost. It's about hope. Jenna felt the tide turning. Each family member who nodded synchronously, a shared understanding washing over them, chipped away at the anxiety tethering Mike. This was bigger than any one person. It was about finding the courage to march against the tide. Mark, Jenna said, her voice steady and unwavering. You can fight back. Help us make things right. It's not too late for you to choose a different path. For a moment, Mark's defiance faltered. His eyes glistened with unshed tears, a flicker of vulnerability breaking through the haze of anger. I don't want to lose you, Mike, he whispered, barely audible. I'm just trying to protect our family. By letting innocent people suffer. Mike shot back, his voice rising. That's not protection, Mark. That's complicity. Gasps echoed in the crowd. They were witnessing a divide, one that had the potential to change everything. A moment hung in the balance, filled with unspoken truths and buried fears. Finally, it was Mike who stepped forward. I've followed a path that was laid out for me, but it's time to carve my own. You can't silence me anymore. The room erupted. Hands clapped, voices cheered. Hope filled the air, buoying Jenna's heart. They were uniting, standing together against the looming threat Mark had warned them about. But as the celebration stirred, Jenna's chest tightened. There was still a storm on the horizon. Okay, then what's our first step? Mike asked, looking around at the crowd. His words called for action, but Jenna felt the enormity of what lay ahead. First, we need to gather all the evidence. Contact the families who were affected and share our stories, Anna suggested. We can't just go to the media, we need to flood them with the truth. Suddenly, a piercing scream disrupted the moment, shattering their fragile exhilaration. Everyone turned as a tall figure burst through the door, panting and desperate. You don't understand. They're coming for you, he shouted, fear etched on his face. Jenna's stomach dropped. Who? Who's coming? The man steadied himself, eyes wide with urgency. The company. They know what you're planning. The swell of dread enveloped the room. As Jenna and the others scrambled to process this new threat, she felt that chilling whisper of fear again. Were they truly ready to face the coming storm, or would it break them apart? Just how far will they go to protect their interests? Jenna pondered, her heart racing with the weight of what lay ahead. Panic rippled through the crowd, a wave of uncertainty crashing against their determination. Jenna's heart raced as she searched the room for any sign of comfort. The new arrival's words hung heavy in the air, each heartbeat echoing with the gravity of the looming threat. Did they say how they're coming? Mike demanded, his voice steady despite the tension swirling around them. An unyielding resolve had taken root within him, and Jenna could sense his fierce loyalty beginning to shift. They're not playing nice, the man replied, his breath coming in hurried gasps. They've got resources we can't even begin to fathom. They'll do whatever it takes to keep you silent. Jenna's mind raced. Memories of whispered conversations and hushed threats nudged at the edges of her thoughts. We need to mobilize, she urged, her voice rising above the apprehension. Everyone here has a story. If we stand united, they can't intimidate us. One by one, faces turned towards her in support. Then, Anna stepped forward, her eyes fierce. Gather anyone who has been affected. We need their testimonies. It doesn't matter how small. Every piece counts. But what if they come for us first? Someone whispered in the back, their voice trembling. The fear was palpable, a fragile thread ready to snap. We're not backing down, Mike declared, standing tall. The crowd shifted, uncertainty mingling with determination. Just then, a police car's siren echoed from outside, drowning out the murmurs. They might be coming for us already, whispered Anna, panic creeping into her voice. Jenna's heart sank. We don't know that. It could be routine. But deep down, she felt the tide turning. She stepped closer to Mike, grounding herself in his strength. We have to face this, she whispered. It's the only way to take our power back. The crowd fell silent, fear and resolve intertwining like the branches of a gnarled tree. After a moment that felt like an eternity, Mark, still perched at the doorway, spoke up. If you think you can fight them, I'll help you. The room gasped. Mark's offer threw them all, including Jenna, into a whirlwind of emotions. Trust was delicate, it felt like a choice fraught with uncertainty. Yet, this was the moment they needed him to step into the light, not linger in the shadows. I want to believe you can change, Mike replied, his voice cautious but softening. But it's up to you to prove it. Mark nodded, resolve replacing the earlier vulnerability. Then let us do this together. We can't let fear murmur in the corners anymore. With unified spirit, they all pressed deeper into the discussion, plotting their next moves with determination. Jenna felt adrenaline coursing through her veins. This was it. They were on the precipice of something monumental, a chance to reclaim their narrative. However, in the back of her mind, a nagging doubt lingered. Were they truly prepared for the fallout to come? A chill brushed against her neck. The stakes were higher than they'd ever been, and shadows loomed behind every door. As they strategized and rallied, a low rumble echoed outside, vibrating through the ground beneath them. It was just the storm approaching, but to Jenna, it felt like an omen. Are you all ready to face what has to come? She asked, her voice trembling slightly, seeking reassurance from the crowd. We are. They roared back, a chorus of defiance filling the space. But Jenna still felt a thread of uncertainty weaving through her heart. She peered at the door, half expecting something to come crashing in. What if they were too late? What if the storm was already upon them? The answer was lurking just beyond the walls, waiting to reveal itself. Would they withstand the tempest, or would it scatter them like leaves in the wind? The rumble outside grew louder, shaking the very foundations of their resolve. Jenna fought to steady her breathing, even as her heart pounded like a drum. They had rallied together, but could that unity withstand the storm looming just beyond the door? Fear and adrenaline surged in a whirlwind of emotions, and she felt herself faltering. "We should move to the back," Mike suggested, his voice smooth and steady. "Better safe than sorry." His calmness was a balm, but Jenna's instincts screamed otherwise. "Wait," she said suddenly. "Let us hear what they want first." The crowd hesitated, caught between instincts of self-preservation and the adrenaline of standing together. "Yeah, we've got this," Anna chimed in, standing shoulder to shoulder with Mike. "If they're here for us, we can't just cower in the shadows." The tension thickened, memories of past betrayals tightly wound around their trust. Mark glanced toward the entrance, anxiety etched on his face. "We need to think about our safety too. If this goes south then we fight back," Jenna interjected, her voice rising. "We won't be scared anymore. If they want a fight, let them bring it on." Eyes flickered with uncertainty, but the spirit of defiance flickered alive. A younger woman, her face pale with worry, whispered, what if this is the end?" "No." Jenna shouted, her voice breaking as she reached for the girl's hand. "This isn't the end. It's a beginning. We reclaim our stories, our voices. Our strength." The words felt like warmth spreading through the crowd. The murmur of agreement began to swell. "Yes. We will not be silenced." But just then, a figure appeared at the door, tall and menacing. A tall officer in uniform, backed by two well-built deputies, stormed in, urgency radiating from his presence. "Everyone, I need you to calm down." Panic surged again, and the gathered crowd pushed back. "What do you want with us?" Jenna demanded, stepping forward, her fear wrestling against her brave facade. "Someone reported a disturbance," he replied, scanning the room, assessing the mood. "But that's not important right now. We need to know if you're in any danger." Jenna opened her mouth to respond, but the words stuck in her throat. Should she tell him the truth? Would it help or hurt their cause? The stakes had never felt higher. Before she could reply, Mike's voice cut through the fragile moment. "We're standing for ourselves. It's them you should be concerned about." He stepped forward, pointing an accusatory finger toward the officer. "What do you mean?" the officer asked, surprise flickering across his face. "They're threatening us. They want us to stay quiet. We're fighting back, and we want your protection." Jenna couldn't hold back the surge of truth any longer. They had come too far to back down now. The officer stared, taken aback by their spirit. "What kind of threats?" He looked uneasy, but Jenna saw a flicker of understanding in his eyes. "That doesn't matter," Mark interrupted, his voice steady. "You need to believe us if we open up. We're standing on the brink of something bigger. This is about more than just us." Suddenly, sirens pierced the air anew, a sinister crescendo that signaled not just a storm, but an awakening. "Listen," the officer said, tension lifting somewhat. "If you're in danger, I need to know everything. And if anyone is trying to intimidate you, we will bring them down." In that moment, Jenna felt a shift. Could this be a pivotal turning point they needed? She could see the glimmer of hope flickering, but also felt a deeper storm brewing. Would the winds of change blow in their favor, or would this encounter push them further into despair? With her heart racing, she faced the crowd, the officer, and the truth that loomed ahead. If we share our stories, we take back our power. But are you all ready to share everything? Gasps mixed with murmurs of agreement filled the air, as Jenna's question hung heavy, poised uniquely between fear and rebellion. The moment of truth danced just out of reach, asking them to step into the unknown. What would they reveal, and would the consequences shatter their fragile unity? Jenna looked around the room, the faces of her community soaking in her words, raw with emotion and anticipation. This was at the moment where they could either claim their truth or let it slip through their fingers. "Are you ready?" she repeated, her heart pounding. Fear gripped her, but so did the determination that surged in the crowd. Mike's hand found hers, squeezing tightly, a silent promise that they would face whatever came next together. "I'll share," a voice broke through, clear and determined. It was Derek, his expression resolute. "I'll tell what I saw. I won't let fear silence me anymore." "Me too," chimed a cafe owner, his voice quavering but steady. "My brother lost his life because of their negligence. It's time the truth finally comes out." With every declaration, hope ignited like a wildfire. One by one, neighbors began to speak up, sharing their stories of loss, betrayal, and shattered dreams. Jenna felt her breath catch in her throat, a powerful wave of vulnerability flooding the space. A collective healing began to take root. As the officer listened intently, Jenna could see understanding paint his features. "We will listen," he said. "And we will act." The energy shifted, crackles of anticipation filling the air. There was power in unity, a sting of fear intertwined with the blooming sense of strength. The world outside could loom large and threatening, but inside this church, a revolution was brewing. Together. They shouted, voices rising like an anthem. "Together," echoed Jenna, feeling the swell of their shared resolution tightening around them. Just then, Mark shifted uneasily at the doorway, caught between two worlds, loyalties pulling at him with each passing moment. Jenna's heart softened for a fleeting second. He was being pulled apart, just like Mike had once been. "You could stand with us, Mark," she offered, sincerity threading through her voice. "This isn't just about fighting against your family. It's about making things right for everyone." "I'm not sure they'll listen," he replied, his bravado cracking, fear flaring in his eyes. "But they will," Mike stepped forward, his voice solid as granite. "Help us expose the truth, and in the end, you might find your own redemption." Tension flickered between them, then, something shifted in Mark's gaze. "Okay," he said, shoulders dropping as the weight of his family's past began to dissipate. "I'll try. I want to help." Cheers erupted, surrounding them in a moment that felt both fragile and explosive. Jenna grasped Mike's hand tighter, willing him to lean on her strength. They were standing at a precipice, but it felt as if a bridge was being built right before their eyes. As testimonies flowed, unraveling the truths long buried in shadows, Jenna felt empowered. Each story that was shared was a testament to bravery, a reminder that wounds could heal if they just spoke up. The officer nodded as each tale unfolded, scribbling notes, promises exchanging hands amidst the rising tide of hope. Hours passed in a blur. The church became a sanctuary of resilience, a tapestry stitched from shared pain and undying hope. Finally, as the last voice fell silent, a wave of calm settled. "We've got work to do," Jenna said, determination sparking in her chest. "Now, let us take this to the world. Let us find our strength." The community surged forward with agreement, pushing boundaries that had long felt unmovable. They worked tirelessly, connecting with news stations, drafting statements together, collecting the memories and faces of those lost. They were reclaiming their narrative, one raw truth at a time. Days later, headlines broke across town, exposing the real legacy of the mill and igniting conversations. The weight of their stories transformed into a rallying cry against injustice, against silence. And through it all, Jenna watched Mike transform. He became an advocate in his own right, stepping into his place beside her, breaking away from the shadows of his family. He stood with her, shoulder to shoulder, ready to fight against the winds of their past. "We can do this," he whispered, beaming with a fierceness she loved. Together, she echoed, their hands entwining. In that moment, as they faced whatever came next, fear took a backseat to hope. They were ready to uproot the injustices that had lingered for far too long together, stronger than ever before. Hope surged, and in that courage, a future was forged, a brighter tomorrow, waiting just beyond their reach. Don't wait another second. You need to subscribe now to join this incredible journey and catch more exclusive stories that will blow your mind. Leave a like now, every single click really boosts the algorithm and supports us. Comment below with your feelings and reactions to this powerful ending. Your words count. And share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to feel inspired by this transformation. Let us spread the word together. Stand with us. Show your support. The time is now.